From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. If your son or daughter is serious about college athletics, call them at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athletes.
Here we go. It's another edition. It's a holiday edition of the 50/50 Podcast, powered by our proud partners, College Promoters USA. They are America's premier college prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. Located locally here in the San Antonio area, you can find them in the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center, but you can also find them on social media on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. And you can also get more information on the many awesome things they're doing on their website at collegepromotersusa.com. My next guests, they are no strangers to the show, making their annual. We're making this, I think if it happens 2 times, is that a tradition? Is that how it works, guys?
I think if it happens one time,
when
it's
does
a
it
tradition.
Right. Okay. There we go. So back for our second installment of the holiday edition of the 50/50 Podcast. We are joined by Coach Nick Soderling, who is Coach Shaun Soderling. Just merged you guys there. Shaun Soderling, the head women's soccer coach of Brescia University, and also Nick Rizzo, the head women's soccer coach of St. Mary's University in Minnesota. Gents, welcome.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. Excited to have you guys here. Another show. Nick, how about you?
Just phenomenal. I got my final Christmas shopping done today, so I'm like good to go finally.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's the most stressful thing is like getting all your Christmas shopping done, and like once you're done, it's smooth sailing because I don't wrap. I put stuff in bags, so it's like really easy for me from here.
You don't wrap your presents?
Yeah.
Nope, bag person. Definitely a bag person.
Whoa. I did not mistake. I figured you were a rapper.
I mean, like, I don't know. I could probably be persuaded, but like, I'm a big bag person. I think like just the ease of it, like it's less stuff you have to deal with later. I don't know. Maybe now that I have an infant, like we'll start doing stuff, but he doesn't understand right now. So it's
awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you for being here. And again, for our listeners who may not be familiar with you all, I'll let you hit a little bit more also on kind of how we crossed paths initially, as far as the awesome things you all do with Soccer Chat, with your podcast as well. And we're going to obviously talk a lot more about that later, but just give us brief intros as to where you are now and what's going on.
I think I went first last time, Shaun. So I think
Did you really?
Yeah, I think you have to go first this time.
Okay. Look, somebody's already saying no rap. Come on, Nick. Your son's gonna love ripping that stuff open, not a bag.
Sorry,
he's a first time father. Like he'll learn at some point. No, I guess for us, we started our podcast based off a Twitter chat that got started. Let's see, 6-7 years ago now.
Yep.
And we got connected with Hector through there, and I can remember the many phone calls of Hector getting a hold of me, being like, "Hey, man, I want to do a podcast." I'm like, "Absolutely, go do it." And it's been fortunate enough for us that I think we kind of got this thing started of cross promoting a lot of podcasts that all kind of got started from the same thing. So we always kind of like to say that Soccer Chat's just kind of this small little thing out there, but this tree has kind of grown off in so many branches that it's really cool to see people kind of get influenced, I guess, a little bit from what Nick and I done. Because I think what we've done is just shown that if we can do it, anybody can do it. So, we were able to kind of see the beginning of the 50/50 pod and be a part of each Christmas episode. And here we are again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. Nick?
Yeah, no. I coach at St. Mary's University in Winona, Minnesota. Not the same areas. There's Texas, there's Indiana, there's California. Mount Mary, you Mary. So there's a lot of St. Mary's to be confused from. We're in the one that's 10 degrees below zero right now. So I can't imagine.
No, thank you.
The weather down by you guys is quite like that. But no, yeah, been here now for 2 seasons. But yeah, me and Shaun have kind of been through it a lot together. And like, again, it's just been a fun journey to do the soccer chat thing for, like you said, like it's crazy because it doesn't quite feel like 6-7 years, but it definitely has been that long.
Yeah. 10, did you say 10 below zero right now? Is that right now?
Yeah, the feels like 10, I think, is like -9 right now.
Yeah, we got people here, with that big Arctic blast that's about to make its way across the country. We got people here freaking out because I think Friday morning it's going to be with the wind chill. Granted, this is a wind chill, right? But I think they're projecting it to be 8 degrees down here. So you can only imagine. Yeah,
that's crazy for y'all.
Absolutely.
This is not the time of the year I bring recruits. Like we successfully avoid having kids come up at this time of the year. Like we find the days that are sunny and 70 as often as we can.
Yeah. And I'm sure which is the most common St. Mary's? Is it got to be the one down here? I imagine, right? Is that the most common one?
Yeah, the California one's pretty popular too. The one that Kai we actually interviewed the other day, coached it there. Like they're a pretty like well-known program as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotcha. So awesome. So again, thank you for being here. Let's talk. Let's segue over. I don't know if you guys were aware or not, but there was recently a fairly popular tournament going on the other side of the world. They refer to it as the World Cup. I don't know if you guys were watching it or not, but
oh yeah, that thing happened.
A game or two.
Yeah. I caught a game or two as well. Thoughts on the tournament? Thoughts on the final? Thoughts on Team USA? We can go any number of directions, but what thoughts? Share thoughts.
I mean, I think the tournament as a whole, like disregarding the situation of what it took to put the tournament on, was maybe the best World Cup in our lifetime. I mean, if you look at some of the craziness of the group games and things like that, like at one point, like what was it, like Spain and Germany were like had like a 5-minute span where they were both being eliminated by
both out.
Yeah, like for like only like 5 minutes, but like literally like that's like 2 of the past 3 World Cup winners were about to get eliminated on the same day in the same group. Like you look at some of the semis with the penalty kicks, and then that final. I mean, I don't know if I've ever watched a better soccer game like after the first 78 minutes. But like once minute 78 hit and France got that first goal, it was like, oh my gosh, like, and then they get the second one 3 minutes later, then like go down and like with 7 minutes to go in the second added time and then tie it up again is like, it's one of the craziest. And then like to Argentina with Messi to finally get his World Cup. I don't know if you could ask for anything more out of World Cup. Like it was absolutely insane.
Yeah. I was just upset that my whole theory was that once Qatar was hosting it, I just thought this was the year that a random team was going to be the victors, and Morocco was really making me look good. And all of a sudden it just kind of the wheels fell off and they ran into a buzzsaw. And I also, people can call me a hater all they want, but I had always envisioned a world where Ronaldo and Messi were the Dan Marino of soccer, where they've done literally everything that they can except win the big one. And so now, one of them has it and the other one will never get a chance at it again. Kind of puts another damper on that. But, at the end of the day, like Nick said, I mean, once the 78th minute hit, that was just ridiculousness. Like, I think I think Buffalo Wild Wings even tweeted him like numerous times. It's like, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And it was like their commercials came true to life. But yeah, it was an absolute fantastic game. And I think I put out the tweet too of, so many people, I'm sure your guys' timelines were the same way. So many people were talking about the game. A lot of non-soccer people were talking about that game. Right. I just hope that everybody brings that same energy at the end of July and beginning of August when the Women's World Cup starts.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I believe they will.
Yeah, well, and I was getting texts from like people that like I know are not soccer people, like, and we're just so stoked. Like, what is happening? This is the craziest thing. And the problem is, like, so many people have said this, but it's just like, if that's the first soccer game you've ever tuned into, you might never want to turn into one again because they don't get that good all the time.
I know. It was. I mentioned this. One of the previous podcasts, that one of the previous episodes we were on, I mentioned this. I think I had about 12 different group chats going all simultaneously on the phone, right? And it was, it was buddies, coaching buddies, a lot of non-soccer buddies as well. It's just, and kind of, I guess, acquaintances that were on the chat as well. And it was all kinds of, forget about soccer. It was just, they bypassed soccer. They just said this was probably the single greatest like sporting event that they had seen, right? And it was 75 minutes of, oh my God, bummer, right? This is going to be pretty boring, significantly one-sided. And then it just, all it takes is, you hear it all the time, right? As cliche as it is, that 2-0 lead, right? The most dangerous lead there is in the game. And then boom. And then we were in store for quite a ride for about the next, what was that? 45, 50 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like Mbappe finally just was like, all right, I'm done. Like, let's do something here.
That second goal was like so worthy of a World Cup final. Like that goal was absolutely, and like Argentina's second goal was amazing as well. Like there was just some really quality goals in that game.
When you talk about Martinez's save in what was basically one of the last plays of extra time, right? Could you imagine? I mean, by a fraction of a difference, that ball goes in, right? That ball goes in for France and game over.
Yeah.
Game over. And so it was, and I think, I think the greatest thing to witness, whether you're a soccer fan or not, is, Mbappe and Messi for sure. These are household names, even by social soccer fan standards, right? And you got to witness be great on the biggest of stages, and they were just going back and forth. That's special. That's like, almost never do you get to witness that.
No, I think like one of my favorite tweets was like trying to explain this in to non-soccer people in basketball terms. It's as if Michael Jordan and LeBron James were in the NBA Finals Game 7, and like one dropped 60, one dropped 50, and the game was decided by a last-second buzzer beater. Like it just like all the things that could possibly have happened in that game.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was the great way to end a World Cup on the field. On the field, it was amazing. Off the field, that's a whole other podcast, of course. But yeah, thoughts on Team USA, on the U.S. men's national team?
You want to go, Nick?
You can start off. You're pretty passionate about this.
So I'm not going to say that I had my hopes up or that, I had such a high standard, but I am very kind of disappointed in our play. I felt, and I think, I don't know if I feel like I said this to Nick, but I know I said to a lot of other friends, you can't go into the World Cup saying we're going to win every game 1-0. And I am a person, if anybody knows the way I coach and things like that, it's all gas, no brakes. Once you get the first one, go get a second, go get a third. And for my non-soccer friends who watched and their commentary at halftime and in the second half of every game was so spot on. And they were just like, why are we getting so conservative and just playing defense for 45 minutes? And so, this is a whole, like, we could talk about this for the next 2 hours, but I thought we got out coached in every game. Now, did we have a good game plan in a couple of the games? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I thought our substitutions were way too late. I didn't like our roster that we brought in the first place. We had the
depth
striker.
It showed up with the depth. I think that was
for
part
sure.
of it, right? And the moment you broke up that MMA midfield, it showed, right? It showed.
Yeah.
And Kenny not being able to go beyond maybe 65 minutes, that hurt. That hurt.
Yeah. I just felt like, oh man, and a lot of people said, well, this is what happens when you don't play in the World Cup before. And I don't know necessarily that I agree with that. But I do think that we got to play in a lot better tournaments before the World Cup. We got to play much better friendlies. But I get a lot of hate for this. I don't think Greg coaches in the next one, and I don't think that he should either. I think the message was lost. I really think just recently in the last week, I think we've seen that I think he's lost the players for, saying obviously the Gio Reyna gate and things like that. But I think, saying that all the stuff was in-house, it's in-house. and then he comes out public with it. I don't know how he can be the guy that leads them. And we got to get somebody that can have the tactics. I mean, Louis Van Gaal is not the greatest coach in the world, but he's really good at changes and tactics. And that's what was a buzzsaw for us the whole tournament, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go like a different direction in terms of just like, because I think what Shaun said was all spot on. I think for me, I was like actually really happy with our players. Like, I think when I look at how we did, like Matt Turner had a great tournament. Like, like obviously the last game, but like before literally our fourth game, he had not given up a goal through the run of play. It was just a penalty kick. And then obviously like anyone that watched Tim Ream play, like couldn't have been happier. Like Tim Ream stepped up having not gotten called up in forever and had a big game. And whoever we were playing the other center back, I think was a semi-weak link on our team, but like they did their job for the most part. I really liked both our outside backs. I thought Robinson had a great tournament. Dest was great. And I loved our midfield. The big thing, and there's a guy, I don't want to call out people's names, but a guy tweeting about like how like when we talk about how young this midfield is, remember that England's is like, it was like 6 days younger at the time for the England game. Our midfield played Mason Mount, Jude Bellingham, and Declan Rice off the pitch. Like that was like, I think where we were the more dominant in that game was our midfield. And so it's like, when you look at Musa, McKinney, and Tyler Adams, like an awesome tournament. And then Pulisic did his job. Like, again, goal and an assist. What else can you ask for? He should have scored his one. Oh, we lost Shaun.
But he'll be right back. You have to go grab something.
So like Tim Weah was great. And I thought, honestly, it's so unfortunate that Josh Sargent ended up getting hurt, because right before he got hurt, and when he found his rhythm in that last game, I thought he was great for us. And again, that doesn't mean we're going to win a World Cup, and we obviously still have so far to go, but like, I was really happy with our team. Like, that's the first time I've felt as a US fan in my lifetime that I was like, okay, like we're asserting ourselves in every game. Like, we've beaten better teams, obviously, than the Dutch, like in the past, like we absolutely have. But that was the first time where I was like, oh, we're really in this game. And I know people like, oh, they were conceding possession. They could have been, but like we outshot them, had more expected goals than them, and had more of the ball. And that doesn't mean that we were the better team on the day, but like that's a good step for us, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think, when you talk about the U.S. men's national team, part of my assessment, I think you saw two things. You saw their age. You saw them get exposed in terms of the youth and the lack of experience a little bit in certain moments, right? I think we just lost Nick as well. Well, I'll continue while they join us. But we were talking about the U.S. men's national team, right? And a couple of things is the England. There we go.
That was really weird. I don't know why I got kicked out.
Yeah, we lost you.
We were talking about the youth. That was the last thing I heard.
Yeah. So apologies there to everybody. So what I noticed was, Shaun, you back with us? Can you hear us? Yeah, you're muted, but I think you can hear us.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Laptop is charging as we speak now.
There we go. Okay. So apologies to everybody. Little quick tech difficulties there, but we're good to go. So
it wouldn't be soccer chat without a mess up.
Right. My assessment, I think, and I still want to go back and look at these matches again, right? But I think the youthfulness, the lack of experience, it showed in moments that second half of Wales, right? I think, ironically, kind of a little bit contrarian to Shaun's point, was I thought where they played their best was where they didn't score at all, was against England, right? That you talk about that midfield. I know one of my favorite memes that was out there after the England game was, the actor, former football player Terry Crews. It says he's Tyler Adams. He's got like 4 people in a headlock and everything, so which was the England midfield. So yeah, I mean, that midfield, what I took away from it was we clearly kind of came out with a certain sort of with an identity from the standpoint of our midfield. But, that's a lot to put on three individuals when you clearly have no number 9, right? And then also, you have a 35-year-old center back who is playing out of his mind, right? So it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag there. I think I completely agree with Shaun in terms of Berhalter, right? I think when you do what you do, when you're at a quote unquote leadership symposium and you think you're off the record, that tells me one of two things: is he's he's either naive or it's a done deal. He's not returning, or there's no intent for him to want to come
I
back.
feel
Right?
like that
'Cause
was kind of the
yeah,
talk after the Cup, was that he was already looking to try to get to
right.
England.
And I don't think there's any mystery about that. I think he's let
Yeah.
it be known, but I think what got people kind of got them going a little bit was when I know they put that out that the soccer federation was officially in negotiations with a new contract with Berhalter.
Yeah.
So I don't know, who knows, but yeah, but you're right. I think how do you establish trust? How do you regain the quote unquote locker room after that?
We
Right.
you heard the whole time from Taylor Twellman about, and not just with Berhalter, with the Germany coach and a couple others, and he said that second cycle is so hard to keep those
Hmm.
players into what you're buying and what you're selling. And I don't know. I was going to ask this too when you guys started bringing up the World Cup. Do you think, how obviously for some teams it showed it didn't matter, but do you think had the cup been at the normal time and they had that whole postseason of their pro leagues to be together and training camp and then to go in, I feel like if we had that opportunity, because you're thinking all these guys are coming in from
Hmm.
their pro teams, and we saw with the US with their social media, you had 3 guys coming in at a time on various
Excuse me.
days. How much would that time together in their
Hmm.
pro off seasons or pro seasons would
Yeah.
they have had to kind of, you heard that they were super tight knit, they were close, were always together in their hangout area. But the thing that really struck me, I don't know, obviously everybody knows I'm a big Eric Winalda mark, and he had a very interesting comment after the first game, and he said the thing that he was the most worried about was every single player got their own room to stay in. He said, if I'm
Mm.
Walker Zimmerman, the last thing I need after that, giving up that penalty, is to be in a room by myself. He needs
Alone
his,
with your thoughts. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, he needs a roommate to be like, hey, man, it's whatever. We got this. Don't worry. Let's move on. And so, I just, there's so much to unpack. And like I said, I don't think we've got 2 hours to go on about it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I do wonder about, if we would have had, if it would have been the normal time to have that training camp beforehand and whatnot.
Hmm.
Because I mean, Nick goes through the same thing, and any coach does the same thing. Like if you're a club coach, you get all these kids in from their high school teams, where their high school teams all play 7 different ways, and you've got to get them all into do one. Nick's got his team, and when these freshmen come in and they're used to playing 2 different ways from their club and their high school team, now they got to play the St. Mary's way. That can be a tough adjustment, and these players are
Hmm.
having to make that adjustment right at the
Right.
beginning.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so much to unpack there. I think the big thing that I walk away from with this particular World Cup is when you just look at it as a whole, is I think this is, excuse me, this kind of affirms, or at least in terms of the trends and analysis of where I think the game is headed, that this is really the World Cup, the big tournament, major tournament, where the argument of possession, of needing possession, absolutely putting a focus on it, died.
Mm-hmm.
We look at was Spain versus Morocco. Spain got up to I think like 85% possession at a certain point in that match. Look at Croatia having almost 70% possession over Argentina. And that was a routine trend that you were seeing. I think the other trend that I noticed quite a bit that I think the Athletic put out was games at the 30-minute mark is when games took off, right? And I noticed the trend was somewhere right around the 30-minute mark, you started seeing the goals happening. And then again in the second half around the 75-minute mark, which held to form because when we look at the World Cup final, when did all the action start? Right. So
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was just interesting how that was talking about those final 15 minutes in each respective half. Is that also a reflection of what you're talking about, or of these teams not having enough time to be together, even though they're in season largely, other than maybe MLS?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
interesting take.
I think the other thing that I found interesting is the teams outside of Morocco. So that's a little bit, but like the teams that tend to have a person who can consistently score goals, like that I think was Spain's biggest issue. I think like they didn't know who was going to score a goal. Like in that, when you look at their lineup against Morocco, like they didn't really have a true forward in there. They had a lot of people that like again, were great on the ball, can run at people and things like that, but like they don't really have a true forward. And so as good as your midfield is, and they have some of the best midfielders in the world, like young Gavi, I think is phenomenal. Like there's so many phenomenal players. Like at the end of the day, like, and that's why I think Argentina, like Messi, like they were obviously getting a lot of PKs and stuff too, but Messi was putting them away, and France was getting their goal. Like they got their goals from their big people. And I think that's where we're struggling as a nation right now. Like that, like if you look at it, like our wing play is pretty good right now. Our midfield, pretty good right now. Like it's just like we don't have that person that you're like is going to score game in and game out at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. That's, I was still very much salty about no Ricardo Pepi making the roster. Yeah. That's me personally, but
that's two of us.
Yeah, we can.
Because he's the guy that he basically got them in the cup.
Yeah.
And he kept Greg his job, and that's how you reward him. I hope that Pepe and oh my goodness, Chris, Richards. Yeah. Like there's so many of these young guys that they have to be upset that they didn't get in. But you hope that this really drives them for 2026.
Like Haji Wright's tearing it up at Rangers right now. Like there's like plenty of guys that are still doing really good stuff.
The whole Haji thing, I have like no like feelings about him one way or the other, but there's a Twitter account that's called US Men's National Team Burner, and they are like the biggest Haji Wright fan that you'll ever meet. And so like the only reason that like I was tweeting about Haji Wright, like when he would come to the games, was because of being influenced by this social media account that was in love with him. And
what was that again? USMNT what?
I think it's USMNT Burner.
Burner. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a super fun account. They do any American that's playing abroad, they post like their lineups each day. When somebody scores, they like, I don't know who runs it, but they do a really good job. But at first I was like, Haji Wright, like, okay, yeah, like he's done all right where he's at in his pro, but I just don't think that he's the guy for us. But this account kind of like talked me into it during the World Cup. So he would come on the field and everybody back, oh man, Haji Wright. I'm back, no, like he's solid. Like we're all fans of him now. So he has a cult following now.
I'm like P-Folks scored a goal yesterday too. Like there's
it's another cat.
Didn't somebody just express interest in Haji? Like wasn't that just on Twitter? I think last week.
Something like that.
I thought I saw something like that.
But speaking of, I think it was PFOC. You think you were talking about? What really upset me was Berhalter making a comment about we don't have people scoring in the Champions League, scoring goals in the Champions League. That's something like he said that after the last game, and it was like ESPN put out a graphic that was like, nah, dog, here's all the people on your roster. And that wasn't on the roster that Americans that have scored in the Champions League recently.
And he was referencing Memphis Depay, who like hasn't scored in like 3 years in the Champions League.
Who had the best,
that was one of the most
game of his life.
Asinine comments I've ever heard before.
I know. And back to Triple G, I guess that's the last thing we'll wrap up with, so we can move on. But I don't think the question at this point is, does he return right for a second tour? I really don't think he does. Like the question is really, and then what's going to really determine in terms of his status is who do we bring in? Because you really have to get this one right for a number of reasons, right? For the talent pool, because you got to remember, it's not obviously this 26-man roster. They're not going to all be back. We know that, but it's that next group, right? That's behind them, right? That are even younger that are going to try to push through, and then it's on home soil, right? So you got to have the right coach. You got it. So that's the question: is who do they bring in? And who's willing to take that job?
I know of somebody who's willing to take the job. I don't think they're going to get offered, and we're going to lose out on it. And that's all I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I feel like I'm becoming like Ian Rappaport in soccer now. Like I'm like people are sending me stuff, and I'm like, oh. But I do think that we have the right person for the job, and I think we're not even paying attention. I'll tell you somebody whose name I'd throw out, and people can laugh at me all they want to. Laura Harvey. Let her have our men's team and watch what happens.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, like the number one thing is like there's never been a World Cup coach that has won with a foreign country. And like, as much as I agree that like we don't have the best ideas right now, and there's things that we need to fix. Like, I don't know. I do think there's some merit to having a coach that like was born like and understands our team and our culture and is invested in it a little bit more. And because like when you see the passion of the coaches that win it all the time, like it's more to them than just the coaching gig. It's their life. It's what they grew up with. It's the thing that they're most passionate about.
Mm-hmm. I have one guy that comes to mind, but he's obviously currently employed and he's in the Premier League. So
yeah, Jesse Marsh. I don't like. Why would he take it at this point? He's got a great gig. Like,
I think hasn't he said like it's not really on his radar?
I just don't know if it plays out a certain way because you know how things are in the Premier League for managers, right? If his season the next couple of months goes in a different direction, and the federation isn't entertaining that, doesn't reach out or says maybe, hey, not right now, and then just it becomes a timing thing, right? If they go ahead, make a decision, make a hire, and then God forbid he gets sacked, a month later. I think that's what I'm afraid of. It's more one of those. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope he has success at Leeds. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't want it to go that direction.
What about Tommy Tuchel?
I hate Chelsea. So
why?
Well, I'm not even when he was at Chelsea.
I'm saying if you're him, I think why? That's what I would ask.
It's something that you haven't gotten yet. And I hate saying it, but if you're a top tier manager and you go and you have success with U.S. men's national team, would we all agree that the U.S. men's national team is a stepping stone in international coaching?
Yeah, but I think at his age, because how old is he? He's like early 40s, isn't he?
Something like that, I think.
The international game is different, obviously, from when you're used to that club, right? The club setting, and how very little time you have with your guys and constant camps. You have them for 2-3 weeks. You play maybe three or four friendlies, and then boom, they're gone again.
I think his in-game strategy and his ability to tactical is just, I mean, something along those lines. I think
I don't question that. I don't question that whatsoever. I think it's more of if you're him from his perspective.
Well, I think the biggest thing that helps is he's available.
Or do you have to just throw some serious money at it?
Yeah.
Is it that?
I think everybody and their brother will play Monday morning quarterback of who we want. Most people say Jesse Marsh. Well, like you said, he's locked in a contract right now. So my only thing about Tuchel is he's available. I mean, we can't get Pep right now. We can't get Jesse Marsh. We can't get whoever else, Mourinho. But of coaches who are available at this moment in time, he may be the best one.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll leave it at that because I know otherwise we'll be at it for another hour and a half. So, all right. So, tell us. We start segueing over to your seasons. We look back to this fall season you all just had. Thoughts, lessons learned as you guys get ready for your springs, and then ultimately working towards next season. Kind of thoughts and where are you headed?
You go first, Shaun. You had a pretty exciting year.
We did. We had the best season in program history this past year, and we made the conference tournament for the first time in program history. From only scoring 8 goals my previous 2 years combined. But I'm going to need a good one for this. I'm going to need a good one for this. And only winning 2 games in those first 2 years. We won 7 games and we scored 43 goals this year. Nice. So we're definitely on the up. The thing I enjoy is the fact that we're about 2 years ahead of where I thought we would be at, and just really excited about what we've got coming in. I think a lot of kids are getting interested, and this was kind of the year that they saw that we're a program that's for real. We're not just the social media people with our videos and our graphics. Like we can ball too. So very excited about next year. Got a good class coming in, still recruiting for 2023 too. We've got a trip we're going to the Women's World Cup in Australia in the summertime. So we definitely got big things ahead for Brescia women's soccer.
Yeah, that's a great little logistics breakdown of that. When do you leave? How long are you all gone for? And I know some of what you got going on there, but how long are you gone for? Is it?
We'll be gone for 9 days. Yeah, so 9 days. We arrive to Sydney on the 20th, which is opening game night for the World Cup. And then we'll get to see 2 games while we're there. And then we're going to leave on the 29th.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that World Cup. I think it'll be a great buzz. The fact that this World Cup was so late, the men's World Cup, that, we're 6.5 months away from another one. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And what I'm
Like
not looking forward
213
to,
days or something like that.
yeah, what I'm not looking forward to are going to be these game times, being that it's where it is. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. So, Nick, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, no, season went well this year. I think like for me, it was an interesting year because we come off a really good season last year, very similar to Shaun. It had been maybe the best year the program had had in about like 25, 30 seasons. And so we had a lot of returners, a lot of big expectations going into season. And then we were one of the teams that just caught the ACL bug this year. We actually had 4 kids on our team do ACLs from April until September. And so both of our starting center backs and an outside back. And so it was just one of those things where we had to like have a lot of new people step up. And so I was joking with people, like we started the season, the second center back did her ACL in the 3rd game. And so we started off 2-0, and then we lost our next 4 games, like right after that stretch. And we played some good teams, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'd ever lost 4 games in a row since I started coaching college. And it's just like, all of our players are coming to me and like just kind of in panic mode. And it's just like, guys, like, people are going to step up. We're going to be fine. It's just like now all these freshmen are playing right now. It's like, it's just going to take them a few games to figure it out. And then it was nice because after the 6th game, when we started 2-4, we ended the season with 9 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties in our final 12 games. And so it was just like, we were able to turn it around, but it was funny because like, it was the first time in a while as a coach that I've had to like be like, I'm a pretty positive person, but like that I feel like I was almost pulling them more out of the gutter than and I felt like in the gutter for sure. I had other people pulling me out of the gutter.
Yeah.
But then I felt like I was pulling our players out and be like, no, we're good. Like it's going to happen. Everything's great. And so it's just one of those things where, again, it was ended up being a really fun year. We ended making the conference tournament for the 2nd time in school history and having a lot of like fun times. And again, it was just looked a lot different this year's journey to the conference tournament than last year's journey to the conference tournament did.
Wow. That's awesome. That's all. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear about the injuries. Hopefully they're recovering, but yeah, you guys kind of had your own little mini French team going there, right?
Yes.
A bunch of people stepping up with a lot of injuries and whatnot. So that's awesome. So
it was, and again, it's like, if anything, like we have to design our programs in a way where you have to bank on the fact that you might have an injury. And sometimes it might take you a few games to figure it out. But like, if we're doing our jobs well as coaches and recruiters, like the next people are ready to go. And we didn't just train the starting 11 every single day. Like we worked with the other 20 and we need them to be ready to go when their moment's called.
Right. Recruiting going well, getting ready for next season.
Yeah. I like anyone. Obviously I'd love a few more studs and hopefully we end up getting them. We're talking to quite a few, but yeah, I think we're in a good spot. I think it's been fun because we don't recruit the Midwest hardly at all. And so most of our roster again is from Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Colorado. And so it's kind of fun because it's always hard because I never know if our kids are any good until like in relation to the Midwest, right? Like, because they never play anyone from around here. So like none of my commits will ever play any of Jason Murphy at UWL's commits. And so it's like, until they get here and they're playing each other, I have no idea if our kids are even comparable. So it's always a fun journey to figure that one out.
Yeah, I know, Shaun. I've had plenty of these conversations with Shaun, but I know we got to get you down here and open up the recruiting cabinet, the recruiting bin, whatever you want to call it, down here as well. So
that's great soccer. I'd love to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So we segue over United Soccer Coaches Convention. Talk about that. What's on tap? What are you guys going on? What's going on? What are you guys working at? I know, what can you announce? I know you got some stuff that's you're gonna announce later as well. So where are you at with that?
Oh, is this my part?
For sure, your part. This is why I have you and my wife and my assistant coach to do all the important stuff for me.
Yeah. Yes. Designated spokesperson here.
So Soccer Chat will be live at convention again this year. I'm really excited. Our guests are going to be dropping here pretty soon. We've got some really good shows lined up. I think we've got some returners that we obviously have to keep traditions going of having people back with us. But I think there's also some new people that's going to be on as well. I'll give a little tease. We have 2 coaches who are going to be on with us, who won the national championship in their first year of being a head
Nice.
coach.
Nice.
And then we've got a good mix of college coaches, pro coaches, club coaches. Obviously, people can stop by and say hello to us. Then we've got we try to get to every social that we can. Obviously, we get to the women's coaches social, black coaches social, any type of event that's going on where supporters and people can be there. We're going to be there as much as we can. But I think for Nick and myself, every year we always talk about kind of slowing it down and not having as many guests and things like that. And I always find my way of like overbooking us a little bit. But I really think this year, just because of the importance of a lot of the speakers that are going to be presenting at convention, I think we'll probably end up having 3 or 4 shows a day, if that. The only bummer is that we don't have a connection to internet while we're there. So I may try to do a live show if my phone will support it. But all of the shows that we record are going to be will be put up online afterwards. I will say this, for anybody who's watching, we're going to release this later this evening. But anybody who's watching this right now, you're getting it here first, not on Soccer Chat, not on our Twitter chat. You're getting it on the 50/50 pod.
All right.
If you are deciding on whether or not that you want to go to convention or not, Nick and myself are going to get you a discount. All you got to do is make sure to go on. And when you check out, there are asked for a promo code. You're going to want to put hashtag chat 70 or chat 23. So hashtag chat 23 and get yourself a discount. So that way, if there was something that was keeping you from going to convention, now you can do it. And hopefully Nick and I can help out with that a little bit with that promo code.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So again, one more time, a little bit of breaking news there. So share that with us one more time. Share that with us one more time, that code.
It is hashtag chat 23.
There we go. Awesome. Great stuff. So thank you for that. What's got you, maybe both of you, what has you maybe the most excited about the convention this year?
I mean, this is not different than any year that we've done this before, but I think just as cool as the speakers are and everything, it's fun to catch up with people that you don't see all the time. And so I think that's the thing I'm most excited about, is just, again, being able to see a lot of my friends that I might only get to see once or twice a year, that we're very connected, obviously, through social media and through text and calls and things like that. But just very, very excited to catch up with everyone.
I think the last year was kind of like a teaser, just because of the, in 2020 it was virtual. Last year there were still a lot of mandates and things, almost being that back to normal this year a little bit. I think we'll kind of open things up a little bit more. But I'm the same as Nick. We've been talking all week about, we have all these coaching friends all across the country that we talk to electronically, that we only get to see once a year. So it's a pretty big event for us to be able to see those people and be able to, give them a high five, give them a hug, and kind of, just kind of spend a few days, get a little bit more in depth in our conversations about what we do and why we do it. And I've mentioned too, on our show this week, we have a couple of presenters that are on, and I talk about, for me, the convention really, it kind of reignites my flame every year, for coaching. I always say between the convention and the ID camps I work in the summertime, though, I get 2 instances that really just boost my charge and my battery for coaching and my drive. And so that's the thing that I'm super excited about, is I know the year that we just had coming off with Brescia, and I know that what I'm going to pick up and the energy I'm going to pick up from this year's convention is just going to lead us to where we want to go for next year too.
Yeah. Nick, same thing.
Yeah, no, yeah, kind of what I said. Like, I'm just very excited to see everyone. I think there's a few presenters, obviously, that are going to be very, very cool to see. Like, I'm just intrigued with like some of the ones like Jesse Marsh is coming. Like obviously, like
that's virtual, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but like he's presenting. But it's like you have guys like him, and then I don't know, like Sarah Loudon's presenting. So we always get to like Becky Burley's presenting, like Big D, Donna Fisher, Celia Slater, like people that again are very close friends of ours. And so it'll be cool to like go watch their presentations and see how they're doing their stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those that I continue to stress with, excuse me, when I speak with coaches, particular club and especially Texas high school soccer coaches. Here is continuing to the why they should be members, but also I know the hardest part is generally speaking, we can't attend, right? Because we're right smack dab in the middle of our season. So, and that's the hardest part. I know one of the things that I would have, had I would have been most excited about had I had the opportunity to go was, us being, formally invited by United Soccer Coaches to be part of Podcast Row, which I know, as you all know, that's not easy to accomplish. So I was really excited about it, looking forward to it, but I think the timing of it and when we were asked, it was a little late in terms of the logistics of our season. So, but maybe there's always another time, right? What was that saying that you said, Shaun?
There's always next year.
Right. Exactly. All right. So, one more question before we transition, guys. So this one, unrelated to everything we've talked about, but I kind of want to get, this affects you all or impacts you all differently, but affects you all differently as well. So kind of want to get your thoughts, your assessment from when you look at it from your point of view on and I promise I'm not trying to make this a loaded question, but it kind of is. Thoughts on the state of the transfer portal right now, just college athletics in general, and then specifically soccer.
I can go first on this one. I think that there are obviously, with anything, I think there's a lot of positives on it. Like in terms of players being able to have a little bit more autonomy and stuff where they're going, and with the NILs and everything, obviously players are able to make money for themselves and help their families and things like that. Very similar to like the COVID year when they started granting all these people extra years for, I don't think they had any idea how like that they were opening up Pandora's box for everywhere. And so I think when you make these decisions, obviously it's hard to predict what is all going to happen because of this decision, but I don't think they could have possibly imagined the amount of transfers and everything that would be going. I think the other thing that's kind of hard for me to swallow, and I'm not going to call it specific people, but like, I think it's weird that players don't have like that. It's all about winning at a certain point and not about their coaches and their relationship with their team and their relationship with the school. Like there was a player the other day that was like, had all these accolades that transferred to like a slightly better program. And it just like, and maybe there's other extenuating circumstances, but it's just like, Chris Henderson, who I love following on Twitter, is great for women's college soccer.
Right.
He was like tweeting out that it's like no mid-major is going to keep their best player ever again. Like because of the transfer portal, like every mid-major from here on out is going to have to figure out a new way to get a good player every year, because if you have a good player, they're going to go to a Power 5 the next year because everyone's doing it right now. And I'm not sure if I like that. I think I would have, and I get that the player has that choice, and I totally understand it. I just think when so many people aren't going professional, what are we doing by not like being there with our players and coaches? And coaches leave all the time too. I obviously left as a coach to come to St. Mary's as well, but I just think it's weird that it's become such a standard that everyone leaves all the time. And it's just kind of, it's a little bit out of control in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say it's out of control as well. I think, Nick kind of hit it on the head of, if you've got a really good player coming in, how long are you going to have them now? Because of these schools are going after, anybody who's got that experience. I had a recruiting seminar a couple weeks ago, and a parent asked me of a high school player. They said, how does that affect my kid when it comes to recruiting? And I said, there's a massive difference between bringing in an 18-year-old with high school and club experience and bringing in a 20-year-old who has college experience. There's a massive difference. I said, I think if it's done correctly, you can still bring in that 20-year-old and use that 18-year-old to develop them into what you want them to be. But I think, like Nick said, I don't know that everybody was really prepared for what it was going to do. And it is kind of a free for all now. Now it's all about, like Nick said, it's not about that relationship with your team and with your coaches and your teammates. It's, are we winning? And if we're not winning, well, I'm going to go over here now. And I think too, I don't think a lot of kids look at, as adults, we look at moving jobs as, well, is it a lateral move or is it a horizontal move? And I think, like Nick said, there's a lot of kids who are going into the portal and they're just making lateral moves. And it's like, you just are going to what you just came from. So I think it's, I don't know how to police it now because it's been the wild, wild west since the last couple of years. But I definitely think it is changing the game because now, while we all are out looking for a specific player recruiting wise, now you also have to kind of watch from the college game and go, oh, hey, do we think we got a chance at bringing that kid in? So I know I don't know how much like for Nick, but I know like for us at the NAIA level, now I kind of wonder about, if we start producing players, are we going to kind of be like junior colleges? Are we going to be able to keep players for a couple of years? And then are they going to start heading out to go to NCAA schools?
Right. Yeah. And it's, I had this conversation, excuse me, I had this conversation with a college coach recently who I won't mention any names, but very good, very, very highly respected coach. Have a great, good relationship with him. And one of the things, or two things came up really, was one, this exact conversation came up, and part of and this speaks a little bit to what Nick was talking about, is they feel that it's kind of driven. You have some players on at certain schools and certain programs that they like where they're at. They're having some success, but then what's happening is it's kind of, I don't want to call it monkey see, monkey do, but it's kind of fueled by the unknown, maybe a little bit of insecurity that, hey, all my good friends at this program where I'm very comfortable, happy, they're leaving, right? So, and the unknown of not knowing what's going to be there. So they enter the portal as well, right? So it's this kind of vicious cycle. And then the other thing, the thing that really kind of caught my attention, because I hadn't really looked at it, and it also ties into what Nick was talking about, is they're talking about that just everything from mid-major, group of five, whatever you want to call it, right? From there down, is it essentially the new, but particularly D1, right? Group of five, maybe even your upper level D2s, is it essentially now become the new JUCO, right? The new junior college, right? Because of how the portal is actually being utilized.
Yeah, I think like Nick said, you're going to get players who come in and have a really, really good season, and all of a sudden, somehow, some way, they're going to know that X school is looking at them, and they're going to go to Nick and say, hey, I want to go in the portal, and all of a sudden, like, so are we basically going to be the minor leagues now to get these kids ready for the Power Five? Like you said, I think that's a very good point. Is basically the are we all going to be JUCOs now? Are we going to be able to get kids for 2 years and then just have to send them off? But I think the other thing that kids got to realize is that the lower divisions, we could become that, but there's not enough spots at those Power Five schools for every single team to have a group of kids that are going to come in for 2 years and then think they're going to go off to a Division I school. Those spots are few and far in between. So I think the other thing too, I was saying this in a recruiting seminar, I feel like Nick may kind of agree. I think, again, it comes down to the education piece of what are the kids learning about the school before they get there? What are they knowing about the team before they get there? Are they choosing it just off of soccer? Are they choosing it just off the coach? And you see a lot of the coaches right now there's a bunch of people who are using #RightFit now, because I think there's a group of us that are like, this transfer portal thing's gotten way out of hand. And what can we as coaches do now, even if it's not our school? What can we do to educate kids and parents about the right fit? Because I personally, I think the transfer portal in its original form, completely understand. But I think now it's a cop-out to where, oh, I'm not getting blah, 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 or whatever. You see more, how many more kids are getting the portal for that reason than, hey, I think I'd like a new challenge. You know, I was just conference player of the year, or I was D3 player of the year. Maybe I can make it at a Division I level. You know, I can understand those things, but you know, it's the old man in me starting to come out. I realized the other day I'm getting really, really old. Of like some of the best lessons you're going to learn in life is from failures. You can't have success without failure.
Right.
So I think it's just a thing of people just not knowing what the fit is, and in your clubs, once they can say, hey, we sent somebody off to a Division I school. Well, yeah, you may transfer. They're not going to make a big graphic for it. They're not going to say, oh, hey, yeah, you know, this person went to this school too. They got their statistic they need from the year before. So I definitely have to say that it's a love-hate relationship with the transfer portal.
No, I don't think it's you sounding like the get off my lawn guy. You know, I don't think it's that.
I'm getting there though, unfortunately.
No, but I think, because I think the argument there, right, by many people is the intent of the policy versus how it is being utilized. I think, and that's where, unfortunately, that's where the NCAA always has had to step in terms of regulation, and so it's kind of then it becomes the be careful what you ask for piece as well, right? So you got to factor that in as well.
Well, look at what's the quarterback that just went to his 4th school in 6 years.
I don't know. Gosh,
what's his JT Daniels? I think he was at West Virginia this year, and he was at I guess he made his name in Ohio State. He may have played at Georgia before this. Like, he's been at like really good teams and has gotten beat out every year. And it's like, so now, you know, if I'm a coach, okay, your 4th school in 6 years, counting the COVID year, like if I'm a professional scout, what's that tell me as well?
I did see the one football player at Oregon who just had his 9th year approved. Did you see that?
Yeah,
I don't think he was a quarterback, but yeah, that's pretty insane. So, but yeah, I think in terms of the right fit also is the 2021 numbers that were released a while back, and this kind of speaks specifically kind of more in terms of where you're at, Nick, right? As far as at the D3 level, is that there's a direct correlation when you start talking about right fit and the numbers within the transfer portal, you know, astronomically high. If you look at D1, astronomically high within Group 5, still pretty high, or astronomically high within Power 5, still pretty high with Group of 5. Then you go into the D2, they drop down relatively, I'm not going to say significantly, relatively less, but still high. And then this massive drop off at the D3 level, right? Because I think it's that balance, right? That balance matters. And looking at a school for more than just a soccer program, I think they tend to get it right. They tend to get it the most right. And that's also saying that, you know, that they have the highest number of athletes, right? I think, what is it? And check me on this, Nick. I think it used to be 1 in 6 students is a student athlete at a D3 school, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah. So that's insane. So, all right. This is, we can bring you around. It's totally up to you guys, and leave it up to you. If you want to come back for a counter tag segment, ask you 8 questions, pick on you guys, or we can wrap it up now. It's totally
pick on us.
I defer to you all on this.
Pick on us. It wouldn't be the 50-50 pod if we didn't.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So, gentlemen, we're going to bring you right back again. He is Shaun Soderling. I almost said Nick Soderling again. Almost did it.
It's kind of got a good
Shaun
ring
Soderling.
We
to it.
get married at some point.
Shaun Soderling, the head women's soccer coach of Brescia University, and Nick Rizzo, the head women's soccer coach of St. Mary's University in Minnesota. I don't know why I always want to say Mankato, man. I know it's not Mankato, but I'll get it right eventually. So, all right, stick around. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. As the lead sponsor and proud supporter of the 50-50 podcast, alongside Coach Hector Cano, College Promoters is proud to be elevating its support for the college soccer recruiting process more than any other service in the country. If your son or daughter is serious about competing in college soccer, call College Promoters USA directly at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athlete.
And we are back. We are joined both by Coach Shaun Soderling and Nick Rizzo. I know Nick had to step away for a second, but he'll be right back with us. Coach Shaun Soderling, the head women's soccer coach of Brescia University, as well as Coach Nick Rizzo, the head women's soccer coach of St. Mary's University. Going to get ready to dive into our second segment, Counterattack, and have fun, not at their expense, but have some fun with them a little bit. But before we do that, let me tell you about our good friends at Gipper. So some of you all have noticed that we've been utilizing a different type of graphics as of late for going on about 5 months now, 6 months now, with the 50/50 podcast. And that's attributed to our good friends at Gipper, who we've partnered with and kind of have totally changed the game in terms of what we're able to do and what we're able to offer. So, and we're having a blast utilizing their products, their graphics, their support. Let me tell you a little bit about our friends there. Gipper is the way schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join 2,500 coaches and ADs and use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any device whatsoever. Again, my personal experience, a little bit more advanced on the graphics side, I guess what you would call a power user, but it doesn't matter how much experience you have. They make it as simple or as complex, kind of as you like. But again, for listeners of the 50/50 podcast can receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. Again, that's it, full year subscription, 10% off for any 50/50 podcast listener. All you got to do is go to gipper.com/partner/5050. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050. All right, gentlemen, counterattack time. Let's dive in. So, all right, first one, and we'll just, for order purposes, we'll just go Nick first, Shaun second. So
cool.
I'm used to that.
As it should be. As it should be.
There we go. If not a coach, you would have been what?
Oh God, I get asked this all the time and I never know an answer. I would be a fitness instructor. Boom.
Nice. Okay.
I would probably do something in the entertainment industry, between an actor or I have a broadcasting degree, so I've been on TV and radio. So I would do something in the entertainment industry, but I also have said recently that I have become mesmerized with chiropractic. And I didn't know what one was till I was like 27, to where, like, if I was to kind of go back, I think that's what I would have studied, was to be a chiropractor. So either an actor or a chiropractor, one of the two.
That's definitely the first. Both of those have been dropped on this podcast, by the way, both actor and chiropractor. So cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dog. One.
Dog. Yeah. Shaun's working with something right now.
Yeah. All right, very good. How would you, so this is an interesting one, right? How would you, if you could go back with the young you as a player, but with what you know now as a coach, how would you have coached you?
Oh, that's interesting. I think I was definitely one of those kids that, as long as you gave me, like, it sounds bad, but like, if it, like the cat, like, as long as you dangled the string in front of me and like gave me like enough compliments.
Nick has to be baited into anything.
Yeah.
Oh, hey Nick, I need you to come over to this thing. Well, what do I get out of it? Oh, here's some drinks for you. Let's come over here.
Yeah.
Incentive.
But and like simultaneously, as long as you give me like one nice thing for every 20 mean things, I could hold on to that one nice thing. Like, I definitely didn't need like a ton of encouragement, but like the coaches that coached me really well were the ones that would be like, hey, Nick, you kicked butt today. And then they would yell at me for the next 20 times, because that, like, it more motivated me to prove people wrong than it did to prove what I thought I was good at right, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Shaun?
Man, I was the player that, as long as I knew that you believed in me, I was going to run through a brick wall for you. And I was very fortunate enough to, in all the sports that I played, had some really, really good coaches. I was very, very lucky. in that. I would have to say if I was coaching me as a player, I think I would just probably, man, that's so hard. I've never really thought about that. I think I would kind of do the same thing that my previous coaches had done for me, is just that consistent letting me know they believe. And I think the thing that I really enjoyed was I wasn't the superstar on any team that I've played on, but I was always given some really some big time tasks that need to be completed
Mm-hmm.
during a game for our team. So I think I would coach myself the same way that my coaches did. I'm a person that if you believe in me, if I know you believe in me, I'm going to do everything I can to prove that.
I'll give you a little bit of background on how that question kind of came to be. I was literally, this was, I don't know, maybe about a month ago. Excuse me. I was in the middle of our training session, right, for my team. And we're in the middle of our rondo progression, and I'm looking at a couple of players. And I think this happens to every coach, is you, in terms of just personality, style of play, certain things, right, mannerisms, you can kind of see yourself in some of your players sometimes,
Yeah.
right. So it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, well, this person's kind of a little bit kind of reminds me of me, or how I was told I was when I was a player. So it's like, so how do I approach that? How do I engage with them? And then I said, you know what, I kind of like that. I think I'm gonna take that as a question for counterattack, and boom,
That's a good one.
that's how
I've never thought about that. I've thought about
yeah.
players that like remind me of myself as a younger me, but I've never thought about like, oh, how would I coach younger me?
Mhm.
I know how I
Yeah.
would coach young Nick. That's for sure.
Oh, well, that's another podcast. All right. How or sorry, watching a movie alone in a theater, yes or no?
Oh, I've done it plenty of times. Totally okay with it.
I've never done it, but I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
perfectly at peace with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
do it at
never
home.
understood why some people. Yeah,
I do it at home. Why do I
Yeah.
have to feel bad about watching it on a way bigger screen with like way higher depth? Like,
right. I don't know. I think as a coach, I'm perfectly comfortable by myself. It's when it allows you to be alone with just on the positive, on those notes, or what you got to get, what you got to get done, what you got to work on. Right. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's an insecurity thing, what it is, but some people, I don't know. So, all right, VAR, VAR, whatever you want to call it. Yes or no?
yes, I don't like when calls are incorrect. Like, and again, it's just having been a part of a season where I felt like we got like kind of the raw deal of some calls. Like, if they had video evidence our season, we probably have 2 more wins because of it. And so I'm definitely a VAR fan. It doesn't always benefit the teams I support, but definitely a VAR fan.
I think if they limited on what you could use it for,
Mhm.
I'd be more okay with that. The thing that I've got the most beef with VAR is you can't even celebrate a goal anymore because you don't know if it's going to get called back or not. So that's kind of taken away a part of the game that I love away from it. So I think it's just limiting on what you can use it for.
Right.
Like what was the other one? It was like they showed the picture and it was like an inch of the
dude's butt.
French player's butt cheek was over the line. Like, get out of here with that.
Yeah. Or who was
some
it?
people
Not
are just
Haji,
born different, you know?
Yeah. Tim, the Tim Weah, remember that one? Being called off by a kneecap?
Yep.
Yeah, a kneecap. So, wow. All right, next one. Morning person or night owl?
Massive night owl, but I had to become a morning person this year because we did 6 a.m. practice. So that means I have to get up at my house at 4 o'clock and leave at 4:30. But I definitely transitioned back into my night owl phase.
Exactly the same as Shaun, except fatherhood. Like, there was a stretch where obviously, like, with the days that Kelly works, like, I'm in charge of Will in the morning because she leaves the house at 3:34 in the morning. And so, like, there's days where he will just be wide awake at 4:45, 5 o'clock. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'm just up for the day too. And then, so I'll like send her Snapchats and be like, your devil's son is awake right now. This is your fault. But no, preferably a night owl. I like staying up, watching TV. I scout, I think, better post 10 o'clock at night. And so, yep, definitely a night owl.
Yeah. Speak every language or talk to animals?
That's pretty cool. I don't know.
Say speak a language or talk to animals or speak their language?
speak every language or talk to animals.
I'll talk to animals.
I'm speak every language. I would love to be able to talk to more people.
Yeah. I think as a soccer
there's so many animals you could talk to.
The only one I'd want to talk to is spiders. Like, just like, it'd be like, dude, if you stay over there, we're cool. Like, I'm not ready to kill you if you don't like creep up on me. But like, if you start getting near me, I'm going to put you in the trash. And so like, there's certain animals where it'd be like their life expectancy would go up significantly if I was allowed to talk to them.
Leave it to Nick to still point out just the most random of animals, right? Just one, just wants to talk to one, not all of them. So yeah, I think for me, the way I look at it as a soccer coach, right, given our and the nature of our sport, speak every language just makes more sense to me, I think. So granted,
I didn't know it was based off of soccer related. I was like, man, like it'd be cool to talk to animals.
Yeah, however you want. Like, however you want. That's just how I am. Yeah.
Using my own pet as example, my dog Frank, like I would love to hear what he says and what he thinks. Yeah. Like I'm sure he would be a comedian, but yeah, I'm going to talk to animals.
I get plenty already from my wife and daughters that I don't think I want to know what my dog thinks about me as well. So that's just me. So, all right. I asked you all this one the last time you were on, but I'm going to ask it again just because maybe you feel differently about something. And I'm just kind of curious as well, but each of you are appointed the soccer czar in America, right? You're in charge of all of soccer. What's the very first change you make regarding soccer in America tomorrow?
The U.S. men's national team coach. Oh man, I don't know what did we say on the last one?
I think we had to have talked about Pro-Rel, right? Like I feel like
that's I'd have to go back and I don't want to mix up what each of you said, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Maybe you're different, and I'll go back on it and check it out. But yeah,
I would continue with the Pro-Rel because I'm a big believer of that, but I also think I would find a way for youth soccer to be cheaper. I think it's getting ridiculous. Like people are paying a college tuition just to go to a tournament, basically, with flights and all kinds of that stuff. And that's what we're kind of preparing for in our house with our kids. Like now there's a pre-ECNL now, and like that's like all that my daughter and wife can think of. So I would definitely make soccer cheaper for everybody.
I think that's exactly the answer I was going for. Like, because there's so much untapped talent that can't afford like they could play in their local club leagues, but they don't get exposed to like the high level like colleges and professional teams around the United States. And so I would say for sure, like find a way to make it more accessible for more people.
Yeah. I still remember the quote from I can't remember if it was the USSF youth license or if it was I think it was my USSF youth. One of our instructors, the quote that he said is like, we've somehow for a number of reasons, right, is we've taken one of the least expensive sports on earth and we've made it now one of the most expensive in this country. Right.
So I agree with that.
Yeah, that sticks with me to this day. That's and I get it. There's a lot of people there's a lot of fees and whatnot, but still those fees just keep going in one direction, right? And they keep getting passed off. So yeah, very good point. All right, final one. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being we need to revoke your driver's license immediately. A 10, you are the gold standard. How good or bad of a driver are you?
13. Phenomenal driver.
Whoa.
I'm great. I don't know. I think like couples have this argument all the time. Like me and Kelly both argue who's the better driver all the time. She would say I'm like a solid 4. I'm a 10. She's an 8. Like, I'll give her like a high score. Like she would never give me a high score. Like I'll give her a high score. She's not as good as me.
I'm going to say 10 because I'm a safe driver. Now, what I call safe, other people call slow. I'm sorry, but rules are rules and speed limits are speed limits. So I'm going to get you from point A to point B with no health scares or anything like that. Yeah. So I think I agree with Nick. I think both of our wives would probably say something completely different than what we would say for ourselves.
Are you guys trying to tell me you're both like 10 and 2 guys? Is that?
Oh, no, I'm a speedster. I'm a speed demon, and I do like a solid, like I think I'm like a 530. Like the one hand, like on like.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, just like one hand and 530, like ish. Like I would say that's where I normally am.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal.
And again, I think
Awesome.
I'm great. My wife just doesn't.
Right.
My wife says
Yeah.
that I'm ridiculous at parking because I would rather to allow her and the kids to have a easier walk into a store. Like I'll go up and down to like get a close spot for them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like I'm not parking all the way in the back and then hear them complain about, oh, we had to walk so far. Like I'll go up there. That's okay.
no, dude. My dad threw me under the bus. There was like one time it was like cold last year and Kelly was pregnant and he like dropped my non-pregnant mom off at the front door and like I made Kelly walk with me. And he's just like, you are the worst husband of all time. Like in front of Kelly. It was like she wouldn't have known any better if you wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it's like, thanks a lot, Dad.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Awesome. So, gentlemen, this has been great. Appreciate. I know want to be respectful of your time, so we want to go ahead and get you off as well. But as is customary now with what we do in our podcast, is we let our guests kind of share. We call it final thoughts. So whether it's shout outs, thank yous, something that's just on your mind regarding our game or anything, we want to go ahead and give you guys the floor to share your final thoughts. And whoever wants to go first, the floor is yours.
Oh, I'll go first. I appreciate like you having us on again. It's so much fun to talk to you every single year. And again, just seeing all the amazing things you're doing with your podcast and everything has been so cool. So really appreciate you having us on again.
I want to give a shout out to Lowe's, and because you said whatever was on my mind. So obviously with the no free ads. I'm sorry about that. I know with the impending snowfall, I was going to do a TikTok today. I am a massive believer in the science of if you put grass seed down right before you get a heavy snowfall, it tends to grow better. So I was getting laughed at today by all the people in my neighborhood because I was out raking my yard and putting seed down, and they're like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Just wait. When all the snow melts away, like this is going to look really, really good." So that's honestly what's on my mind, and the fact that my in-laws are going to be approaching here in just a few hours. I have 2 more rooms to vacuum.
There you go. Awesome. So shout out to Lowe's, I guess you said, right? So
yeah.
Awesome. So that's another one. Chiropractor, actor, and now Lowe's. Where you're making all kinds of
I've said it before. I am the worst like soccer coach because like I probably should have said something about something with the game, but you asked what was on my mind, and right now that's what I'm thinking about.
It's a final thought, man. It's a final thought that counts. So by the way, Shaun, I know. So Nick mentioned it's like 137 below zero where he's at. What about you? How bad is it where you are? Because you're not that far away, right?
No, it's I'll give you real time what it is right now. So we're at 38 right now. Tomorrow night we'll be at -1. Then the next night we'll be at 6. Or Friday it's going to be 6 degrees here. Which is going to be miserable. But it's my kids always wish for it to snow on Christmas, and this is our first year not going to Michigan for Christmas. So if we can get a little bit, then I'll be happy, but I don't want too much.
Awesome. Good deal. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Thank you again to both the coach, Shaun Soderling, and Nick Rizzo. Appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. For our listeners, our supporters, again, be safe over these next several days. We're obviously about to get this big Arctic blast really across the country, but particularly dangerously cold weather that we're generally not used to in Texas. But so please continue to be safe. We have another episode coming out tomorrow of Inside Texas High School Soccer, along with Coach Rafa. He'll be joining me. Got a lot to go over there. We're going to have a special guest as well. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have an announcement going out for that. Again, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at 50_50pod. You can also find us on Instagram at 50_50podcast. You can also find us on all major podcast platforms. And then you can also find the video, the video portion of this, the vodcast, I guess they call it, right? Find it both on YouTube as well as we are now on Twitch. So again, thank you for everything. And until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep down.